Hope you are well. Welcome to my channel. If you've not been here before, it's where I talk about twin flame consciousness, twin flame process or journey. This video, I want to just relay some events that happened over the full moon period, which was on the full moon was on the 17th of January. In the UK, it was at midnight, around midnight. So firstly, just to say, I think in my last video, where I talked about everything coming back from love, once you're in a feeling good place and you're feeling love for everything in the present moment. And all that means is that you're disregarding anything negative. So you're not having to be in your head and decide which is good and which is bad. You're only focusing on the good and you're just letting go of the rest, kind of a thing, which I think was in the previous video. At least I think it was. The other thing is that I had been given the date the 17th, and I thought that was in regard to somebody having a baby, but then they didn't have it on the 17th. And then I realised the 17th was for me. So every 17th since that was last October, I wonder what the 17th is, and is it going to be this one or this one? And, little things can happen, and you think, oh, it was that 17th, because I thought that on December the 17th, but really it wasn't anything much. However, there was a huge thing that happened on the 17th of January. So first of all, I had a few things happen previous to that, but quite interesting. Oh, that's it. In the last video as well, I talked about my final let go in regard to my twin. So what happened there was I had a meltdown about something. I think it was my mum and my dad, a lot of crying. Went to bed, woke up in the morning, hungover. Couldn't do much, went back to bed, lay there for a bit and just kind of came to terms with something. So a lot of stuff went through my head, as it does, which is kind of automatic during this process. Like, you clear a lot of ego, and you do that by having thoughts, because that's the only way you can do it. So I was lying in bed that morning, coming to terms with a lot of things, and then out of the blue, what came along into my head through the programming, twin flame programming, was a final coming to terms with the fact that I might never see my twin again, which was really interesting. So that happened by basically what was interesting was the fact that the whole process, and how I've experienced the process, is once they brought me into an understanding of what I was going through, which would have been 2007, 2006, yes, of what I was going through, and it kind of built up speed. So first of all, I was brought into recognition of we had a link, me and him, and it all started to go. By 2012, there was even more stuff coming through in regard to that, and then by 2016, I was kind of working with other people that were going through the same thing, and started the YouTube channel and all of that. But all the time, right, so they told me since 2007, he's coming back to you. So that was the big thing, right? Because I'm going through the process with this understanding, he's coming back to you. And of course, then he never comes back. And the purging was partly me arguing my guidance, like saying, you tell me he's coming back, but he never comes back. And then them telling me to let go, which has been the past few years since I moved to this location, and me being functionally letting go of everything inside myself, which is a barrier to feeling good. But of course, you got that one last thing, which is the thing that they're saying constantly is coming back, and the quandary, the catch-22 of, well, how can I fully let go of everything when you tell me he's coming back? Because I can't let go of that because you're telling me he's coming back. So, so what happened that morning lying in bed, and this is before the full moon, ages before, a week before, whatever, was I finally just came to terms with it, in a sense of, I just said to myself, well, it doesn't really matter if they're telling me he's coming back or not, because he hasn't come back, so he hasn't come back. And I can't know if he's coming back, therefore. It doesn't matter what they tell me. I can't know he's coming back. The only person that can know he's coming back is him. And I don't know what he's thinking in terms of coming back because I can't possibly know that. Right? So no matter, how many times like my guides tell me with the cards how he's feeling, what he's thinking. It's like, well, I can't know that. You can tell me it, but unless he comes back, I don't know he's come back. So again, we have Schrodinger's cat, right? Does the cat exist if you can't see the cat? So that kind of a thing. The quantum realm, right? You can't see it until it arrives in the physical, even though you know it might be in the quantum realm, whatever. So that was my final coming to terms that morning. And then that let go, right? So that specifically was a really big let go. And I just felt, oh my God, it's like such a relief. And it's like, I can exist now. I can physically exist in the physical domain, being just really satisfied with exactly where I'm at because I've let go of it. And it was such a fundamental, like, organic, like, a rebirth, a complete rebirth of me, just knowing actually life can really be all right now because I don't have to kind of even think about him coming back or wonder if he's coming back or get angry that he's not coming back or any of that or be in conflict with my guidance because, they're saying one thing and nothing's happening. All that just went, right, and I thought that was it in terms of the let go. Because also I was like, I knew I was here to let go. So it's like, great. So that must be the final let go. The final let go. Right. And then it got to like the Thursday before the full moon. So that would have been the 13th, January just gone. And I had another meltdown emotionally. So this time it was about, I won't go into the story. It's quite a long story. 2 dogs, one dog called William and the other called Willow, and me having to leave them behind, and the guilt and the shame and the just brokenheartedness of I had to leave them behind at some point. And they were not in the same country as me. They were in a different country, so I had to leave them behind. And I had nowhere to bring them to, so I had to leave them behind, just in case you were thinking, well, why did you leave them behind? So, and they weren't my dogs, by the way, so I had to leave them behind. Anyway, so, but it broke my heart, and I never let go of them. So I had to just revisit that inside myself again and go through all the brokenheartedness and everything of that, and cried again. And then, so that was that, right? Just was. That's all about healing, it's healing everything basically. And but the inner child as well, in that sense of abandonment particularly. And then that was on the Thursday, and then the Friday was all right, not much happened. Saturday, I had this really weird thing on the Saturday. So just to talk about a million years ago when I lived in New York, so it would have been around 2005. Yes, it was 2005. I'd been attacked by dark energy constantly throughout my life in terms of emotional, mental abuse, as you might have heard me go on about before. And I've been surrounded by a lot of narcissists throughout my life. Frenemies, as they call them, narcissists who you think are your friends, but they're not really. So this one specific incident, I've also been attacked, just to say as well, in different ways around how I look. And I have got quite an unusual face. I've been told I'm beautiful by men, right? And I've been told that I'm less than attractive by frenemies. And it's been half and half because everything is dark and light, right? So there's always been a query in my head around that. Am I attractive? Am I not attractive? Funny things have happened because my twin is really handsome and he found me really attractive. So there's then that thing. I had an insecurity for a really long time because he's really handsome about myself with him, that kind of thing. Anyway, this one incident was we'd been on a night out. We were around someone's house. We were sitting around, actually in a circle, funnily enough, on some chairs, me and my frenemies. And somebody took a photo of me. And then they started laughing at it, and then they showed it to everybody else, and they all gathered around and they started laughing at it. And then they took another photo, and then somebody else took another photo, and it just carried on, and they were all looking at the photos and roaring and in laughter and rolling around on the floor, basically, at what I looked like. And it went on for some time. And if you think of everything as energy coming through the physical, so it's literally like an attack of dark energy coming in and attacking me. And I felt like I was being punched from left to right and like knocked around, and I was trying to like stay stable inside myself and like carry on a normal conversation with these people, despite the fact that they were all like, look at her, she's look at what she looks like, so that went on, right? And it was things happen to you like that, and you kind of like, you have to distance yourself from it emotionally, because it's not a nice thing, right? So I distanced myself from it as much as possible, I guess. But you never know how much you've distanced yourself from something until it comes up to be cleared. And on Saturday, what happened was I had nothing to do, and it's kind of at a loose end. And I was like, should I make a video? No, I don't feel like doing that. Should I do that? I didn't feel like doing anything. And then I just started to take photos of my face. Photos of my face from different angles. And as I was looking at photos, I was laughing at myself, but laughing at myself doing it. And every time I look at the photo, I was like, you look all right. There's nothing wrong with the way you look. So it's kind of like I was clearing what had happened to me by doing exactly the same thing. And yeah, some of the photos I look stupid, because I do these days pull a lot of funny faces at myself in the mirror for a good laugh. So, and I was just also laughing at myself doing it, like, what a ridiculous thing I'm doing. Why am I doing this? Because I didn't consciously really know I was doing it. But I presume, and I'm pretty sure, that I was clearing that event from years ago that had held me back from feeling completely good about myself. So that was interesting. That happened on Saturday. And then Saturday night I went to bed. I woke up at 1:30 in the morning. I've had all this stuff about clearing the what has connected me to my mother through the pain she went through with the stomach cancer. I woke up at 1:30 in the morning with burning cramps in my stomach again. Literally up all night because of it, from bathroom to bed, back again. And so I had that. Sunday, nothing, because I had to just rest from all that going on inside my physical body again, the clearing of that, I believe. And then Monday, what was really interesting, because I've had all these clearings, right? So I've had a clearing around the abandonment, the inner child. I've had a clearing around my stomach and my mother. I've had a clearing around my final let go of my twin. I've had a clearing around this event that took me away from feeling good about myself. And they told me a while back I've got to write this book. What had been in my head around the book, because I do go in and out of ego like everybody else, was I don't know how I'm supposed to write this book. Because I sat down and tried to start writing the book, and all it was like, every time I wrote something, it was like, oh my God, now I've got to write about this, and then I wrote that, and then now I've got to write about this, and it was like, I'm never going to get it all out. And even when I read it back, it was like, nobody's going to make sense of this. This is just crazy. I don't know how. And then I talked to my guides, and I don't know how you expect me to write this book. I can't write this book. I don't even know what you want me to write. Do you want it to be fiction? Do you want it to be fact? Do you want it to be a novel? Do you want it... And churning it all around, right? It's gone on for quite a long time, a couple of months, whenever I've thought about doing it. And then, but I did buy a printer, so I knew I was going to write it, because you have to print it out to look at it, to make it coherent to yourself. You can't do that online. You can't do that on a screen. It doesn't work, for me, at least. Anyway, so... Monday the 17th, the full moon, I found myself sitting down here where I sit, and the window is in front of me, and the birds are there, all different kinds of birds I get here coming to the garden, and all the nature. I back onto the allotments, so I can see just loads and loads of trees and stuff for miles and miles. And I sat here, and suddenly I was writing the book. Because, of course, it's just coming through going with the flow and letting go. It's not coming through trying at all. And I'd write a little bit, and then I'd be in my head again about what I'd written. So I'd just stop and look out the window, connect into the nature, and suddenly I get clarity of what to write. So I'd write another little bit, and then I get all bogged down in my mind again, like, should I be writing this? Da, 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 da. And then I just let go again, look out the window, and more clarity would come. And then I was like, okay, so I'm not having to write this book at all. You're writing this book, and all I need to do is let go and let the clarity come. And then I got really excited about writing the book. And it was like, this is amazing. I don't have to write, it's not going to be hard at all. And that was really good. And I felt even better. And so I was sat there and I had this, what transpired was this present moment feeling good, of which I have never felt in my entire life up to that point, which was just a feeling of, do you know what? Actually, being alive here on my own is about the perfectest moment I've ever felt in my life. And I love this. And it wasn't even a like I'm trying or anything. It was just like the easiness of like, do you know what? It's not half bad to be alive after all. So that came upon me during the day, which again is another kind of a let go, because it was like, this is it. I'm here. I've arrived in the perfect moment, and now I know how it feels, and that's just it. And so later on, I was sitting down in front of my TV and just relaxing, and within 5 minutes of each other, I had 2 emails. Also, what happened, just to give you a bit of background, 2005 was when I had to detach from my narcissistic sister, who had 3 children, and who I was very close to when they were young, particularly my nephew, who I couldn't have loved more had he been my own son. But when I detached from her, he was 15, and there was no way I could have kept in touch with him because I would have had to go through her, because he's a minor. And so I had to let him go, and again, it was really heartbreaking. So one email was from him, and the other was from my niece. Well, my niece is very much like my sister. She has zero ability to feel empathy. My nephew is very much like me, and he is completely empathic. So I had these 2 emails come out of the blue, both at once almost. And I did get in touch with my nephew about 10 years ago and said, I'd love to see you. And I gave him my email address, and it never transpired. He was a lot younger then, or whatever, a lot of stuff going on in his life. Like, in your 20s, stuff goes on and it's different. So it never happened, right? My niece I'd never given my email to, because I know what she's like, and as much as I love her and I want her to have fun and enjoy her life and live a completely amazing life filled with everything she wants, I can't have her around me, because I cannot have around me narcissistic energy if I know that's what it is. Because you know what it does, it takes you away from you feeling good. It doesn't matter who it contains, the energy, who works from that energy. So there's this element there of, I wish you all the best, but you can't come into my life. But what happened was, what happened when I got the 2 emails was, I didn't think, I just reacted straight away. But because I had 2 different types of energy coming completely towards me, my niece threw my junk mail, because I'd never given her my email address. And your ego will say, well, then how can she contact you? But, everything comes because it comes. It doesn't come because you do anything. So just a little more insight into that. Whatever way she got that is whatever way she got that. She was meant to get it so she could come towards me. My nephew comes into my inbox, but I kind of responded to both instantly, which you would have thought, right, after knowing all the stuff that you know on this journey and gathering all this wisdom around how you respond reactively, especially towards your twin, and the fact that you've been through this triggering with your twin and you know what triggering it is, and you therefore have this like, okay, so if my twin ever comes towards me, I'm going to self-reflect on that for quite some time. But it was amazing how these energies came towards me, and it wasn't even a consideration that I would reflect on it. I immediately emailed my nephew saying I'd love to see him. I immediately emailed my niece saying something completely different, basically pushing her away. And instant, like in the moment, reacting to that. And what happened in that instant reaction, well, I won't go into it too much, but there was a little bit of jumbling up of what I was doing with each, but I won't go into that too much. that's also meant to happen. So it was meant to happen that I got it a bit jumbled up. But the thing is, right, I had to, you see, you could say, well, why didn't you just ignore your niece? She was in your junk mail. You could have just ignored it because it's junk mail. So you might never have seen that. I look in my junk mail regularly. It's one of the things I like, junk mail. so, um, but the thing is, everything is as it's meant to be. So it's like you are a vortex of reaction into whatever it is that's coming towards you, right? And in this return to physical that you get, which is the return of your twin, eventually, because it's everything coming back from love, you're going to get everything coming back through the stream of what exists, of dark and light. At some point, elements of both. And your return to physical is very much your higher self existing in the physical world, which means boundaries. And so it was kind of like an example of me just operating instantly from where my boundaries now lie, without any fear actually of having that boundary. Because a lot of people who are very empathic have fear of owning a boundary because they don't want to upset the other person. So in this response that I gave out was no fear of that. And then, so I don't think I need to say anything more about my nephew because that's kind of as it was, right? He's coming to see me in a couple of weeks, so that's that for now. But then what happened was I went into ego completely because I was almost attacking myself for how I'd operated in terms of my niece. And it just led to me spiraling into the past and spiraling into the future, because in the future I've got my nephew coming to visit me. In the past I have my relationship with my niece, who I will never see again. And I spiraled in both directions. And when you go into ego, that's what happens. You go into the past, you go into the future, you go in your head, and you're trying to you're attacking yourself. I found myself in the past trying to attack my sister in my head and who she'd been, trying to attack narcissists and what they are, trying to point out the flaws and the faults and in the thing and judge it all, right? And then I found myself in the future in my head with my nephew, and what was I going to say to him when he arrived, and how was I going to talk to him about why I don't have anything to do with my family, and blah, 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 blah. And it all started spiraling out into ego. So I spent about a week till Sunday, which was it yesterday? Today's Tuesday, the day before yesterday, in that pain of that ego, basically. And all I was doing whilst I was in that pain of that ego was going, please let me let go. Just please let me let go. I can't, because I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I couldn't stop And of course, it's very painful to be in that place, right, in the ego. And it's gone. It's kind of petered out now, and it just has let go again, and I'm feeling higher self again. But I just wanted to say that. The other thing that happened was with my nephew, because I had all this stuff coming up when these two people contacted me out of the blue, was part of the conversation was him coming to see me. So we had exchanged a few emails about details. And at one point, the day after, I just felt like writing down in the email how brokenhearted I'd been to let him go, and how I thought of him as my own son, and I'd loved him so much. And I felt like writing all that. But somehow I just put myself to bed. It was the evening, I put myself to bed, and I got up in the morning and I just wrote very simply, well, it'll have to be the house then. And that was it. Instead of doing this, going into feeling and emotion and putting it all out there. And then if you think about as well how you are with your twin, and what is what creates this dynamic, this push-pull between twins when they're triggering each other a lot of the time, when it's coming from the feminine being out of balance inside of you, and you being too much in this emotional energy of putting the ball in someone else's court, which is basically all you're feeling good is put in the hands of that other person that's your twin. right? So all that responsibility on you feeling good, you put onto them. So you're constantly putting it out there. I remember with my twin constantly be saying, do you know how I feel about you? And trying to talk about how I felt about him, and he couldn't handle it. And I remember one conversation, actually, he's literally like a child, and he stuck his fingers in his ears and went, la, 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 because he couldn't hear, listen, he didn't want to, it was too much. It was too overwhelming to have me put all this emphasis on him being my feeling good, right? It's too much responsibility for another person. So somehow, when I pulled this back from doing that to my nephew, because it would have been exactly the same thing, I believe in that was, it's a practice, you see. And I'm not saying my nephew coming towards me and into my life isn't a really important thing, because it is, but everything is about twin flame process. And everything is what you're here to learn about that process, right? So when you come back together with your twin, it's not about you ever putting all that emotion onto that other person, as in, I can only feel all right if you're like, if you own this is all about you. Because your feeling good can never be about another person, and it has to be reeled back into self. So literally in that contact with my nephew that I didn't make, I reeled that back in and put it back inside myself and put a lid on it. It doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean you don't feel the things, right? It's just that you're not trying to make the other person responsible for it. So that's that. I just wanted to share that in this video. I hope you're all well. I've still got the offer on for cheaper readings, which all the details are on the website, and in the description box is a connection to the website. And I'll leave you with that for now. That offers until the end of January. I hope you're all well. I hope you all had a really good full moon, some kind of clarity, some kind of amazing events. Yeah, that's it. Lots of love. Take care. And the reason I'm talking like this is because I just wanted to get this information out as quickly as possible. Lots of love. Bye.